So today we'll discuss about the archiving and transferring files. Now, see, these are very simple commands to archive and transfer. Okay. First, let's understand what does archiving does means. Can anybody tell me what do you mean by an archive or archiving? Exactly. Yeah. So see, the thing is, if you look carefully, archive or archive, the word has two meanings. The first meaning is you are taking it and storing in some other location as a secure way. I mean, you can pull it later. Like for example, in Gmail, you can archive an email. So that means you are storing it somewhere else in a different folder, you can say, or a different location. So whenever you want, you will take a backup of it. I mean, you will bring it and use it. So that is one meaning, and the other one is when combining multiple files and making it one file as a zip file is called as an archive. Okay, so to do this archive, we will also compress the data. So if you want, you can compress. If you don't want, you don't compress. It is up to you. Okay, so we will be using the tar command. Okay, we will be using the tar command. Now this tar command has few options. Okay, C for create, S for extract, LT for list. Okay, so let's see all those examples. So I'm in /root. So let me create a directory. Okay, so I'm in /project. So I'm creating few files. Okay, now I have 10 files in my present working directory. Okay, let's do one thing. Okay, let me write down. I'll write echo redirect to Java, right? Okay, you see, if you look at file 1, in that it is written file 1, this is file 2, this is file 3. Like in file 1 it is written in respective files. If it is file 1, this is file 1. In file 2, this is file 2, this is file 3, file 4, file 5. Like that it is written in all the files. So none of the file is empty. If you want, you can check cat file 10. In that this is file 10, it is there as it is. Okay, so now what I am going to do is I am going to create an archive file by using these 10 files. Okay, so to create that, we will use, we all are there in the same present working directory. Tar -c for create. Okay, create an archive file. F means file. Okay, C is create, F is file. Now what will be the name of the file? Here you have to use the file name. Let's say I want to name it as archived.tar. See, this .tar extension is not mandatory. Okay, I'm just giving like this, like just simply. Then what are the files you want to include in this archive? Write down the files. You can write this way: file 1, file 2, file 3, this way. But when you write separately, why to type more when this also denotes the same thing? File 1.10. Okay, now you see, when you see here, there is a file, new file which is created, archive.tar. See, we have a command called file command. The command name is file. It will tell you what type of file it is. File archive. You see, it says it's a POSIX tar archive. Okay, it's a POSIX tar archive. So when you are archiving, you can also compress the files. Okay, so for compression, we have many different techniques. Okay, we have many different techniques. So what are those? So we have bzip method, for gzip method, that is z bzip to, that is small j, and xz or xzip, anything you can say, that is capital J. Okay, we have all these three methods. Okay, so we have gzip method, bzip and xzip. If you're taking a photo, then I'll create a table. Okay, so gzip is denoted with z, bzip is denoted with small j, and xz or xzip is denoted with capital J. Okay, now I'm going to create an archive by compressing it with a gzip method. So I'll use Z option. So remember, always, no matter you are just doing a archive, just simple archive, or you are compressing with any technique, the F option should be in the last. Okay, so you will write tar -c for create. The first is create. Then what compression technique you want to use? You want to use gzip, so Z option, then F. So I'll say gzip dot archive. Okay, or gzip archive dot tar, something like that. Gzip archive dot tar, and I'm including file 1.10. Okay, all these files will be there. Similarly, I'll be doing bzip method, same files I'll include, sorry, C for create, then J for bzip method. So small j it is, so it is bzip. So you can also include V option. V means verbose. It will show you what all the files it is including in that. Okay, V option. Similarly, I'm going to do xz or xzip. So capital J, xzip archive. Okay, so I did not use V option, so it did not show. Now when you will see here, see, I have archive.tar, I have bzip archive.tar, I have gzip archive.tar, and also I have xzip archive.tar. Now if you look here, archive.tar size is 20480. Sorry, these are the three different techniques. Yes, zip files, all three zip files. The compression technique is different here. Okay, so the compression technique is different. So that's the thing. Now, in bzip archive, you see the size is 238 bytes. In gzip archive, 296 bytes, and xzip archive, 280 bytes. So this, now while looking at this, you will say, okay, bzip is more powerful, that's why this is less size, and gzip is less powerful, that's why this is more size. Nothing like that. So totally depends on your system state, what is the object you are compressing, whether it's a file or directory, or if it is a file, what is the content of the file and what's there. Many factor depends on many different factors. The size at the end size will be occurred. So you cannot say which technique is good, which technique is bad. All are techniques. Okay, you can check with the file command whether we did correctly or not. bzip archive.tar, it says bzip compressed data, file gzip archive.tar, it is gzip compressed data, and file xzip archive.tar, it is xz compressed data. Okay, say in any compressed or a normal compressed one, any archive file, if you want to check or if you want to see the files included in that, included means files which are archived. So tar, same command, list, t is the option. Okay, and f is the option, always mandatory. Let's say in xzip what is there, all these are there. In gzip what is there, same. Okay, so that's the thing. Now see, for example, what I was thinking to tell you is, you see, whatever I'm doing, let's say I did tf, I'm able to see the same thing. We can do tar hyphen hyphen, wait, not hyphen hyphen, okay, hyphen hyphen list, okay, then hyphen hyphen file name is gzip archive.tar. This way also fine. Or I'm using hyphen cjf. Here also you can use hyphen hyphen create, hyphen hyphen verbose, hyphen hyphen bzip, hyphen hyphen file. So why to use the long method? Not required. Okay, now how to create a archive we saw. Let's say you have an archive. Let me delete all the files. Okay, so in these like all the files are deleted. Now you want one of them, you want to extract. No matter how you have archived it, whether with a bzip or gzip or xzip or a normal archive, the extracting method is same for all. So how do we extract a file, a archived file? So tar hyphen x for extract, file, what is the file which I want to extract? Gzip I want to extract. You see, previously when I did ls here, only 4 files were there. Now when I do ls, you see all the files are back. So it's not only one time extraction can be done, you can extract it unlimited times. Okay, you can extract it unlimited times. So from the archive you can use it as a backup also. So that's why archive has two meanings. One is combining multiple files and making a one file, that is also archive, or securing it like a backup is also called archive. Okay, so this way we will do the archiving. You see, if you want to preserve the permission, you can also use -p option. Okay, so I showed you z, small j, capital J. Instead of z, you can use -gzip, -bzip and -xz. So these options you can use, but I always feel the better thing is use the shortest method. Understand the longest method, but use the shortest method. Okay, so this way we will archive. -c for create, fr file. So they have created a directory etc backup. So inside etc backup, sorry, okay, extracting it. So what the example, what it says is they have archived a file called etc.tar. So it has all the contents of etc. Okay, so then it is extracted. So extracting procedure is XF option. So XFP, or if option, if you add while extracting, see P option we will add while extracting. Okay, so it will preserve the permission, whatever the permission was there before archiving, same permission you will get. Okay, so -P option also can be used. It's a very simple chapter actually. So Z is the option for the gzip method. See here I have showed you to archive a file. You can also archive the directory. That's absolutely fine. You can archive one directory. On in one single archive you can archive multiple directories. Okay. So extracting also I have said. Like while extracting they are creating a directory and then extracting it. So tar hyphen X is extract. Z is the option gzip method. As for gzip it is Z option. So even when you don't use Z, that's okay, it will work. Okay, just now I have showed you, right? Gzip archive I have extracted with XF only. I did not use Z option. It will work. So here it is shown here like XZF you should use, but even when you use XF only, that's okay. Okay, it can archive with XF also. Okay, so next is listing a compressed tar archive works in the same way as listing an uncompressed tar archive. Okay, so while we do ls, whatever the output you will see, similar output you will see while listing. Okay, note additionally gzip, bzip2 and xz can be used independently to compress single files. For example, gzip etc.tar commands results to etc.tar.gz2 compressed file, while the bzip2 abc.tar command results to in abc.tar.bz2 compressed file, and the xzip and the xz or xzip myarchive.tar commands results in the myarchive.tar.xz compressed file. So results means it will be compressed in xz format. You don't have to use this extension, it is not mandatory, but for the understanding purpose, see in Windows, yes, Excel file will be there, in the dot extension will be .xlx, if it is a document .docx, if it is a PowerPoint presentation it is PPT or PPTX, if it is a PDF extension matters in Windows, but in Linux extension doesn't matter. Okay, extension doesn't matter. The corresponding commands to decompress are gunzip, bunzip and unxz. Okay, gunzip tmp, this command results in etc.tar uncompressed. You can extract with the help of gunzip, bunzip and unxz. These also are there. By using these commands also you can extract it, but all better you can, I mean when you have tar, why these methods? See when you use gunzip, bunzip and unxz, if it is made with gzip then only you should use gunzip. If it is made with bzip2 then you have to use bunzip2, or if it is made with xz then you have to use unxz. But with the help of tar, it no matter what type of archive file it is, you can easily extract it with the help of tar. So one command for all. So that's why I would recommend go with the tar command, not these. Okay. So this way you will compress and archive, and list, how to list also I have showed you. So we have created a normal archive, gzip archive, bzip archive, xzip archive, and we checked here and we have listed here, and we extracted here. So the way we extracted this, same way you can extract all of them. So I did not do 3 times. Okay, not necessary. Now, transferring the files between the systems securely. Now what is this transferring the file? See, for example, this is your system and this is one more, a different, your friend system, or maybe this is your jump server and this is your production server. Okay, so one file which is there in the jump server, you want to send it to the production server. Now what you will do? Okay, that has to be sent to the production server. Now see, if you will feel like, okay, I will upload in my Google Drive and then I'll go here and I'll download it. For your information, Google Drive, like in the production servers, GUI service is not enabled, only CLI. So how you are going to open your browser? Not possible. Then apart from that, okay, you will upload somewhere, you will take the link and you will do wget. Yes, that is also possible. Let's say for example, for example, you will take this and upload in some kind of web server. Okay, you will upload it in some kind of web server and you will take that URL and you will come to this system and you will write this command. What is the command? wget, okay, and then the URL. I'll just show you a small example. You see here, see, I'm opening the browser. Okay, so on the browser I'm going for classroom.example.com/content. okay, here many things are there. I'm going to Ansible RHCE v8. You see here RHCE v8.sh, there is a file. I'm what doing is just copy link location, minimize, wget and the URL. When I paste that, you see in my present working directory the file is downloaded. Okay, this is okay, but you are downloading it through via HTTP. You are using HTTP for this, so it is uploaded in a web server and from the web server's URL you are downloading it with the help of wget. But what if this server is not a web server? This is not a web server, but the file is there here. I want to transfer it to another server. So how do we transfer? So to transfer, we have many different utilities. Okay, we have many different utilities. So they are SCP, rsync and FTP. Okay, now what is this SCP? Let's discuss about SCP first. We all know SSH. What is SSH? Okay, we all know CP. What is CP? Yes, so SSH plus CP is SCP, secure copy. Okay, SCP stands for secure copy. So it is as same as CP command. So how does CP command works? You will write like this, right? CP source file and destination, isn't it? If it is a directory, we will use -r option. Okay, same way here SCP you will add. SCP source, whatever the file you want to send to somebody, and while destination you will write the system name and the location where you want to store. Okay, so let us see that how it will be done. So what I'm going to do, this side, let me log out. I'm logging into server A. Okay, I'm in server A /home/student and there is nothing here. Let me do one thing, let me detach the terminal. put this side, the other one this side. So left terminal is my workstation, right terminal is the server A. So in workstation I have archived.tar. This archive I want to send it to student by using SCP. So SCP, secure copy. Archive is not a directory, it's a file. So -r option is not required. Source is my archive.tar. Then destination is server A, right? So I'll say server A dot lab dot, I'm using the complete name, or I can just use the small name also. Then in the end, after writing this system's name or system's IP address, you will give a colon. I'm giving colon. Then the path where you want to store, I want to store in /home/student. Okay, enter. Then come this side. You see, previously I did ls, there was nothing, but when I did ls again, I got archive.tar. This time let's do it one more time. Let's do it one more time. SCP, okay, gzip archive to server A colon, okay, I'm not giving any space, okay, server A colon /home student. Then come this side, ls. You see, you got archive.tar as well as you got gzip archive.tar. Okay, both are there. These are two different machines. I mean, although they are virtual machines, doesn't matter, because the design of these is like, even you do in virtual machine or a physical machine, the concept is same. Only you have to make sure the machines are interconnected. If the machines are not connected, you know where you can transfer. Okay, so SCP transfer the file by using SSH plugin only. So that's why SCP also runs on port number 22. SSH runs on port number 22 as well as SCP runs on port number 22. Okay, so this way you will transfer. Let's say you want to receive from the right terminal. Let's say here I am creating VIM student, file name is student. Okay, I am a student user. Oh, what did I type? Okay, done. Cat the student content is there. Now I want to take it, but I am not doing on the right terminal, I am doing on the left terminal. Being in workstation, I am pulling a file. Means, see in the design, in the diagram, if you look here, previously the direction was this way. Now the direction is this way. Okay, so the file is there in the managed host, means in the remote server, in the different server. You are taking this side, means you are pulling it. So how do I pull it? Same method, SCP source, from where I want to pull, from server A I want to pull colon the file /home/student, again /student, file name is student, right? Then where I want to store. So if I want to store in any location, I'll use the path accordingly. Okay, or if I want to store in my present working directory, what is the shortcut to denote the present working directory? No, that's a command, like shortcut, dot, single dot also denotes it's your present working directory. Now you see, when I do ls, you got a file student here, you see. Okay, which was not there previously. Okay, let's cat it. See, same. So with the help of SCP, you can give a file or you can fetch the file. Okay, syntax is similar. So if you want, you can use the fully qualified domain name, FQDN. You can use the complete FQDN or the short host name. Okay, so this way you will use SCP. Now see, the thing is, okay, now think, okay, there is a file. Okay, there's a file, maybe file size is 10 GB. Okay, how much is the size? 10 GB. Now this 10 GB file, I want to send it to the server A. Okay, I want to send it to server A, which is my production server. Okay, this is a 10 GB file. So 10 GB file is not so short, like in 1 second it will not be transferred. Definitely it will take some time, maybe half an hour. Okay, it depends totally on the speed of your internet or the what cables you are using, because quality of the cable also matters the speed of the data transfer. So what cables you are using, what is the file type, what is the size of it, everything matters. Okay, so let's say 30 minutes is the average time which it will take to transfer. 29 minutes are completed, or maybe in between network fluctuation happened and it got stopped. Whatever the file transfer was happening, it got stopped. Okay, file transfer got stopped due to a network fluctuation. Now the network is good. Now when the network is good, I have to restart the transfer again because it got stopped at that time. When I restart, after restarting again, I have to wait from, the transfer will happen from the beginning, and again I have to wait for the 30 minutes. This is one scenario. Or let's say, for example, let's say this 10 GB file is a code. Okay, there is a developer who's writing the codes. So he has written some millions of lines in this file, so its size became 10 GB. Okay, it has been transferred, the code has been deployed on the production server, and the code is running. Okay, code is in the production now, but there is some update, some modifications on the same code, on the same file. What developer did is he has added few more lines, like whatever the lines were there, he has added few more lines. So after adding few more lines, the file size became not 10 GB, it is 10.1 GB. Okay, 10.1 GB. Now in this scenario, previously when it was 10 GB, you have transferred, you waited for 30 minutes, you have transferred it. Now when you will use SCP, again from the beginning 10.1 GB complete has to be transferred. So you have to wait for 30 minutes, means 32 minutes you have to wait extra. Okay, means that complete transfer will happen again. Instead of that, to avoid that, we have rsync. The name itself tells sync. It will, for the first time it will transfer completely, but from the second time onwards it will not transfer completely, it will synchronize the file. Means it will check what is the new in that. First of all, it will check whether this file exists in the destination or not. If it is available, only the updated part, the new lines will be added in that. So it will not take complete 30 minutes, hardly it will take 5 to 10 minutes. The whatever the new lines is added for them, and to adjust, because after adding everything the file should be proper, right? So it will take 5 to 10 minutes. Some other test it will have to do. It will compare both the things. So 5 to 10 minutes you can expect that. So you don't have to, the transfer is not done from the beginning, only the updated parts will be transferred. Okay, with the help of rsync. So rsync is syntax is as same as SCP. Okay, if it is a directory, you have to use -r option. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's, with the help of rsync, I'll transfer the directory. Say in the project directory, rsync. Okay, rsync /project to server A colon /home slash home slash student. Okay, so this way also I can transfer. Skipping directory, 1 second, what happened? Oh, wait. How I am forgetting? I just said, right, if it is a directory we have to use -r. Yeah, done. Now you see this side, all the contents of project is getting transferred. Okay, all the content is transferred. Let's say instead of the content you need the directory has to be transferred, so nothing to worry, just remove the slash in the behind. Wait a second. If it is a directory, okay, here we got in a project. Was that there? No. So previously the directory was not there. Okay, so when you remove that slash, the directory gets transferred. See, if you are getting confused here, let me show you again. So let me do one thing, mkdir test. Okay, I'm creating a directory called test. So inside the test we will see. So now the complete path will be in slash, not slash home slash student. It will be slash home slash student slash test. So ls in test, there is nothing. See, when I do rsync -r, we have to use slash project. In the end I am adding a slash. Okay, when I add this slash, server A to server A I want to transfer slash home slash student slash test, enter. See, when I have transferred with a slash, what has transferred? You see, the contents means what are the things are there inside project, ls slash project. You see, same things are there here. Okay, the content is transferred, but instead of that, what I am going to do, I'll remove that slash in the end. Destination is same, test only. Now you see, when I do ls again, carefully observe, there is no blue color line here. ls, not only ls, it is ls inside the test, right? Yeah, you see, this is the project's line, this one. Recursive. See, I said you, right, it works like SCP. SCP is what? SCP is nothing but SSH plus CP. Okay, SSH plus CP is your SCP, secure copy. Now when you do CP, the syntax of SCP is as same as CP command. Now in CP command, let's say you want to copy a directory, you will use -r, right? CP -r. Same thing, that R option. R means recursive. Means you are copying the directory, not only the directory, along with the contents inside it, the subdirectories and sub files inside it. You are copying along with it. So that's why we will use this -r option. Okay. Yeah. So that is the thing. So by using this rsync also, you can transfer the file. See, the complete transfer happens only for the first time. For second time onwards, it will synchronize. Means only the updated part will be transferred, not the complete file will be transferred. Okay. So this is the second way how you can transfer the file. The third method is FTP. See guys, FTP stands for File Transfer Protocol. Okay. This is like a network file sharing. Okay. So here you will interactively transfer and receive the files. So only FTP, using the FTP, I don't think it will be good. We will use SFTP, secure FTP. See, normal, remember guys, FTP, file transfer protocol, runs on port number 21. Okay. Whereas the word, when you add FTP, it is secure FTP, and whenever it is secure, means comes with the line of SSH. So it runs with port number 22. Okay. Sorry. No, 21, 22. See, FTP runs on port number 21. Huh? No, there are two FTP. Only FTP is 21, SFTP is 22. Okay. The thing is, SFTP is, the S in FTP stands for secure FTP. See, we also have HTTP and HTTPS. That S denotes secure. Here also this S denotes secure. But in that HTTPS, there it is not 22, it is 443. That's a different port. But difference between FTP is, let me write down, it will be better for you all. FTP, yes. See, when you use only FTP, it runs on port number 21. When you use SFTP, it runs on port number 22. 22 is nothing but our SSH uses port number 22. So that means somewhere this is using SSH only. I mean, obviously when you look at that, how the interaction will happen, you will say it is SSH only. You see, I'll show you. Let me make the equal size. Clear the screen. See, SFTP, this is server A, right? So I'll connect to server A. Server A, enter. You see, now I'm in the SFTP shell. You see, PWD, my present working directory in the remote machine, means in the server A, I'm in the /root directory. Okay. ls, in the root, only these two files are there. If you want to see the same content of that, what I'll do, cd change directory, I'll go to /home student. Now you do ls, you see the same content you are able to see. You see, one more thing, what I'll do, this side touch Biswajit, I'm creating a file called Biswajit, ls. You see, you got Biswajit here. So you are in a SFTP shell like SSH, you have taken the remote connection. See, now this shell will also show you your present working directory in the local server. Now kindly understand this. I'll make you understand with a diagram. Where is that? See, server A and let's say jump server. This is jump server. Okay, or I will normal names we will use, workstation. Okay. Workstation in server A. So here you are sitting in front of workstation. Server A is some other machine. So this is a remote machine. This is your local machine. Okay. Why I'm telling is, there it will write. See, ls or not ls, pwd. See, remote working directory means server A, the other side's remote working directory, you are in /home/student. If you want to check for the local server means where you are sitting, lpwd means local pwd. So local machine's working directory is /root. See, in SFTP shell you cannot run all type of commands. No, only there are few set of commands which you can run, that you can check with double tab. Okay. So you can check with double tab. So when you type buy, it will be like exited from that shell, or exit also it will exit. So we are not bothered about all of them. I am bothered about what I want is, let's say in this terminal also, I'll log into workstation. Okay, ssh root @workstation. Why? Okay, I think -p 881. Yeah, I remember I have changed the port for that. Okay, so there is only two files, right? pwd. Now let me go to this terminal. So this side, when I do ls, you see there are many files here. Okay, there are many files, and my lpwd, my local pwd is /root, means I'm in /root and only two files are there. See, if you want to check what are the files are there in /root, when you do ls, it will show for the remote machine, but I want to see for my locals. So local lls. Okay, pwd is remote machine present working directory, lpwd. You have just add l and then use the command. When you use just the command, it is for the remote machine. When you add l and then you do, that is your local machine. Okay, so if you are hostname command is not there. Yeah, no, you see, only few commands. Yeah, exactly, perfect, you are absolutely correct. Okay, so now when I see in the remote machine, I see that there is a directory called test. Okay, what is there in my present working directory? Only anaconda and original. I will take the test. So when you want to take it, that is get test. Okay, get, 1 second, it's a directory, right? So let me check whether it is got or not. No, not got. For the directory, yeah, -r we should use. Okay, yes, recursive. Okay, test I got. Let's say for example, lls, local ls, that is test. Okay, let me take this original -kscfg, means one file which I have, I want to give it to the remote machine. You see this side, what are the files are there. So if you want to give, that is put. When you want to take, it is get. Put original. Now this side ls, see the difference. Here we got original ks, which was not there previously. Okay, so put is giving, get is taking. If it is a file, no options required. If it is a directory, -r is required. And history won't work here. Just simple, remember, put and get. Put is giving, get is taking. You see here, I have used get -r. I mean, as it was a directory, -r option I have used. If it is a file, then get, then file name. Okay, so this way you can pull that. So these are the things which you can do. So not only one at a time, you can transfer multiple files to a location. So like this you can specify. So secure copy, let me zoom in, scp first file space the second file which you want to copy, then the username at the rate host name colon this. See, as I said, you should understand right now. We all have read the SSH chapter. Okay, so when you don't specify the username while transferring, while I was doing SSH, not SSH, SCP. You see, when I did SCP or rsync, any method which I did here, I just specified only the server name. I did not specify the username while transferring, even while receiving. Okay, even while receiving I did not do, even in rsync also I did not do. So you should know, whichever user is running that command, it will put the same name. Terminal versus shell. No, terminal is the window. Okay, terminal is the window, whereas shell is a program. That program will accept the input and feed it to the kernel. You see, here this window, we call this window as a terminal. Now whatever you write, there is a program which is running. Okay, so that is a shell. So that shell, what it will do, whatever I will write here, it is taking and showing the output. I mean, feeding to the kernel, and kernel will do the task accordingly. So they both are not same. Terminal is the window. Right now we are in the bash shell. There are so many different types of shells, like Python shell is there, normal sh shell is there, the normal shell. No, we are in the bash shell. Bash is the default shell in Linux. You can give the path /bin/sh. This is the sh shell. Yes, back to the bash shell. Okay, so terminal is the window. It is like, see, kindly understand, browser is this completely thing is called browser, whereas search bar, the above where you will type your search query, that is your search bar. It's like that. Browser is the terminal, search bar is the shell. That way you can correlate. Okay, so that's the thing. So this way you can transfer or receive the files, SCP, SFTP. Okay, so get and put method we will use, whereas next unit is synchronizing the files between systems securely, that is rsync. So I would suggest read this theory, because here what are the things is written, that is the theory part. Means one situation or some scenario will be discussed. So I mean, you all, I mean, by now you would have seen I go for theory very less. Shortly I'll create a diagram and I'll try to make you understand. So with the rsync, you can also use these options. Okay, so R is recursive, L is a link. Okay, so you can synchronize the links by using the L option. Whereas permission, if you want to preserve the permission, you can use -p. Also, you don't want to change the timestamp. Actually, when you transfer, the transfer timestamp will be the timestamp of the file or the directory. You don't want to change the timestamp, so -t option you have to use, like preserving the timestamp. Similarly, ownership and group ownership, you don't want to change, -o -g you will use. But provided the owner and group which you are using or which the file belongs to, say with the same name in the remote system, user and groups should be available. If it is not available, then it's not possible. Okay, that is one more thing. So if it is a device file, then -d option we will use. Okay, see, ACL, we have not discussed anything about ACL. There is something called ACL and SC Linux. So if you want to preserve the ACL permission and SC Linux context, for SC Linux we will use -x, for ACL we will use -a. So we will discuss about ACL and SC Linux in the respective chapter. Okay, so do not worry. What is ACL and what is SC Linux, we will discuss that. So you should remember that -a and -x is also there. So these all things, all the options, you will be able to understand in the lab. So when you will do the lab, you will get to understand all the options. I have just given you an idea. Rest, using the options is your job. Where you are getting doubt, ask me, then I'll help you as usual. Okay, so this was the end of transferring the files. Okay, so our next chapter is installing and updating the software packages. So this we will discuss in our next class. Okay, because if I start now, it will like half completed again, rest half next week, so that will not be good. One class, one chapter. Okay, so you have time now. If you want, you can take the system and practice. See, you should be like, you're getting a time, nothing like practice. So that is the better way.